My name is Dominique Rose Van-Winther. I have been in this space educating companies for about 2.5 years now, so very early adopter. I come from a bit of a tech background, but not to the level of Dr. Renee. She's amazing, can we just say? Fantastic. I come from a bit of a different side. I always was interested and trying to do a lot in the tech space. I was working with some of the largest marketing agencies in the world, IPG and WPP, and most recently was running operations for Asia Pacific within IPG. But I was trying to bring together all of the tech into a system that would flow, and it's impossible because you have unstructured data, you have structured data, you have the ability to use data and information in very different ways, but none of the systems would talk together. And I ended up going independent in order to start a company that was going to be a lot more focused on technology rather than necessarily just the marketing and comms side of things. And a month after I started my company, ChatGPT was launched. And I went, this is fantastic. This solves so much of actually what we were missing, which was the ability to talk to computers. And that's what I'm going to talk about today, is a bit of the journey that I've seen. And also, the more important thing is who is going to help to drive this transformation. Because I don't want to talk about the tech angle, because Dr. Renee definitely outbeat me on that one. But I want to talk about the human level on how do you drive transformation and change. So we're going to talk about a number of different elements of it. I don't know about you, but I try to follow so much of the AI space, and I wake up every morning terrified. I sleep with my phone. Do you guys sleep with your phone? I'm like, I wake up in the morning and I look at it and go, how am I ever going to stay ahead of all of this? And I spend 2 to 3 hours a day immersed in the space just learning, in addition to talking to customers and clients and companies and executives, trying to figure out how they can all understand it better, because that's what they're asking. And all of that transformation and change, it's great to talk about it. But what I found is that people weren't doing enough. They were talking about all of the transformation and change. And so with all of that world transforming so fast, you ended up with some of these stories that ended up just terrifying people. Like ones that made it really hard to lead through transformation and change because it's so dynamic. Everything is transforming at the same time. And not a lot of people really understand it. So how do we lead through transformation and change like that? I'm going to talk about that leadership element of it. We're going to talk about some of the examples, the horrible examples that get people absolutely terrified. You guys follow Klarna? Yeah? Everything that Klarna has done, right? Where they're like, you know what? We're going to replace 2/3 of customer service employees. Oh, great. Now we're going to replace half the workforce with AI. Great, now we're going to eliminate all of the SaaS and the tech companies because we don't need them. And everyone reads these headlines and then ends up going, where's my job in all of this? And what does that cause? A little bit of a deflation where they go, well, if everyone's going to lose their jobs anyway, what difference in the end does it make? And that's what I fight against all the time. Things like this, which is the Shopify internal memo, which in essence said, everybody has to get on board. This is very important. Go to the intranet and go and self-learn. Do you know what happens when you ask people to self-learn? I'll tell you one thing. Women do not tend to lead in that space. Why? Women take care of everything. Take care of the kids, society, have to go and take care of parents, have to take care of husbands, etc. In all of that extra free time, you get to go self-learn how to do your job. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. And so much of what I'm doing is a lot more about pro bono work to educate women in the space and helping them to have a little bit more of a leadership role. Because who drives fantastic transformation for companies? Who is much better at thinking about how can we drive transformation in a way that's inclusive and that brings everyone along for the ride? I always used to say, who invented all of the social media platforms, right? Do you think if there were some more women involved in that story, do you think maybe we mightn't have ended up with so many issues with children and teenagers and everything that has gone a little bit awry with some of that technology? And I'm a firm believer that actually also having women more involved in that transformation within companies, it destigmatizes it and it takes away a lot of the fear. And so I go and try to prevent people from worrying. Canva was a great example. Canva came out and said, you know what? We're going to educate everyone on everything in the AI space, and we're not going to let go of anyone. And then 6 months later, they let go of their entire writing team. And these are the types of stories that people then start to worry about. Well, hold on. My company is saying that they're not going to get rid of me, and that all it is about me working with better technology. And then on the other side, I see these horrible stories. And so what's a person to do? You saw the Fiverr one that just came out not too long ago that goes, AI is coming for your jobs. It's coming for my job too. Great, a sense of vulnerability. Now we're all screwed. That doesn't help us very much. So I want to talk to you about a little bit of more of the transformation that happens within companies, and in my opinion, some of the things that I've seen companies do right. Because a lot of these things don't feel right when you're talking about transformation. I'll give you an example, because I call myself a chief AI evangelist. I head up my own global company, but I feel like, in so many ways, chief AI evangelist is my calling. It's what I got very excited about, because I am geeky and crazy about technology, and I'm crazy about teaching people technology. But I realized that actually, this AI evangelist role is one of the most important that are out there, because it's so important to be able to understand not only the tech, but how to bring the tech into a company. And I see so many people that are very passionate here, that are passionate about tech and interested in it and can help to communicate that within a company. And because we try not to be boring, I'm also joined by my mascot, AstroCat. Because I go and I teach executives all over the world and boardrooms and executives. And what do? They stare at their phone through any sorts of speeches and talks. So we like to entertain and distract and keep your attention with bright colors and pink colors and purple and AstroCat and beautiful visuals that all move. Because we realize that one thing that sometimes is lacking is some excitement around AI. Like you get Microsoft or AWS up on stage talking about AI is one of the coolest technologies that are out there. And the fundamental shift that we've recently had is actually now it's finally accessible to everyone. And so we need to learn how to convey a lot more of that in the space. So I wanted to tell a little bit of a story about how you can be better AI evangelists and communicate within companies and groups. Because I see it all the time. Individuals, I'll train up an entire team, and it's very funny. Very often I'll have somebody come up and go, I've been using that for 6 months and nobody knew. And I go, why didn't you tell anyone? And they go, because I was saving so much of my time, but nobody knew. It's only men who've ever said that, by the way. Women never say that. Women, you go teach them about some new technology and they'll tell the entire company. They'll tell everyone. They evangelize it everywhere. Isn't that exciting? Talk about a great role within a company. And that evangelizing of technology within a company is so important because then people get excited about it. And then they don't become fearful. And that role, if you're one of those people that understand how to use the technology, the role of being able to communicate it is so important. And so, a couple of thoughts. These are all of the learnings that I've run into in talking with companies all over the world. And we work with everything from, Mandarin Oriental hotels. We work with FedEx. We work with Shangri-La hotels. We work with AB and Bev. We work with Porsche brand teams. We work with all sorts of companies globally in order for them to understand how do they start this transition through education. I can tell you this. Every senior executive I talk to at the C-suite level, they're asking in essence for one thing. They just don't know it yet. Efficiency. Because here's the thing, they've gone to all of these conferences, and at these conferences, people are like, look at the cool shit that I built, and they're like, great, how do I do that? I don't know yet. Or on the other side, they say something completely different. They go, I want to build a better and more efficient organization, but I go and I buy this technology, and I brought it in, and I put it in the organization, and it did not save me any time. And I go, yes, because what has been positioned as so much of this solution is very often taking an incredibly complex technology, bringing it into a complex organization and hoping that you will save time, and of course you do not. And the other problem is nobody uses the tech. And so the most fundamental thing that I try to explain is also when CEOs are asking and leadership teams are asking for AI, very often they don't know it, but they're asking for efficiency with generative AI. And that's awesome, because even though they don't realize it, you can go and you can get a team that can be 20, 30, 40% more efficient. And that can be absolutely fantastic for efficiency. But it also means that it secures your role within the organization. Because now you don't have to go and worry about being replaced by somebody else who's using that technology. You can lead into how you're using it in a daily job. And all of this that we go and explain is on the basis of, we show something called AI multi-tooling, which I'm going to give you a little bit of a demo. Because it's you guys all know these tools. You know a lot of the technology that's out there. But the challenge that we have is explaining it to businesses that are trying to figure out how to invest and which direction to invest in. And they're just not quite sure they see it. They don't understand the new future of work. Does this mean that AI is going to replace every function? I'm an AI maximalist, don't ask me. But let me give you a little bit of a preview of what that works. And this is something that we coined that's called the power of AI multi-tooling. Because I am a firm believer that actually everything that we can do, even if I open, for example, with ChatGPT, and I go, you know what, we're at a marketing event in the Cannes, south of France, in Cannes. Give me a company or an industry, yeah? Name one. Food and beverage, great. Give me a product in the food and beverage space. Pinot Ricard. Okay, great. We're going alcohol. It is the south of France at Cannes. However did we end up here, ladies? Okay, and give me a market or a country that we're going to go to. We're going to Germany. And tell me something really amazing about this new brand that Pinot Ricard has. It looks alkalized, but it's not. Oh, that's fantastic. So here we go. We're going to go and build an entire campaign that is about market entry of an alcohol that is not alcoholic, but it looks like it is, so you can carry it around and drink without anyone thinking that, or without them thinking that with them thinking that you're drinking alcohol, but you stay sharp and in control. That's fantastic. And we're going to target, let's say, women in Germany, and we're expanding out into that market. I want one research prompt in order to understand behaviors. Give me a city in Germany. Frankfurt. We want to understand how people in Frankfurt feel about drinking alcohol and women drinking alcohol and some of the culture around it in order to give us some insights on this. So give me one master prompt that's around research, right? And then I want something else that is maybe, let's say, outlining, like, what do people talk about online in terms of trends for non-alcoholic drinks? Especially ones that are made by an alcohol company. And then I'm going to say, you know what, give me now a master prompt that will outline what a strategy would look like for the space, and then give me some options on a creative space that we could go to, and then I can pick which ones are most aligned to me, and it'll give me the final creative idea. So we're going to do that right now. So let me start typing. No, I'm kidding. That would be horrible, wouldn't it? So I don't type prompts, any of them. I speak with my computer. So we've now written all of the prompt here. You can see all this stuff around prompt engineering. So often I'm like, computers are pretty smart. I get it. If you're trying to craft something that is about programming a specific line of automation, et cetera, you better have it cracked. You know how I write prompts? I don't. I tell my computer what I need to do, and then I have it go and write my prompts, because who can write better prompts? AI. I'm pretty good at it too, but compared to AI, I suck. So we're gonna look here. Okay, so we've got a research prompt. conduct qualitative and quantitative research, la, 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 la. I would have never come up with this long of a beautiful prompt in the space. So, and we're going to open, everybody's tried Perplexity out a bit? Nodding heads? Yeah? Okay, so I'm going to show you something that as a marketeer, though, is awesome. Because I teach about Perplexity. Perplexity can research stuff. Okay, nothing really new, but I like to go and show people this one, where you can turn on social. Can't see this that well. I can turn on social so that we can literally go and search online about what people think. So now I can conduct research based on social media. There's only 2 platforms right now that allow you access to use AI to do research on consumer behavior. Number 1 is Perplexity, Reddit, and it only searches Reddit. Anyone know what the second one is? Any volunteers? Boom, X, exactly. Now, we've gathered a whole bunch of alcohol consumption in Frankfurt, Germany, attitudes and social norms, all of this rooted in Reddit posts. What do we know about Reddit? People write, it is keyboard warriors. You want opinions? You go to Reddit. So, great, we've found some consumer insights that we could. Is this qualified research? No. Do we need some cool ideas in order to brainstorm and get our thinking hats on? Yes, this is fantastic. So, now you guys may know this one and this one. I'll teach you the difference. Who uses Grok? Anybody here? This is not a political debate, do not worry. We are not going there. But if you use this Grok, grok.com, you can't do what I'm about to show you because it's only available on the other one. You have to go to X. It's also a quarter cheaper, but we go to X, and under here you have Grok. And here I can go, same prompt, but under here I can turn off web search, turn off X here, and I can just search what people have been saying online about this. Ah, that's great. We just used AI to help us to also summarize all sorts of discussions that are happening online. Now, we're just going to use this in order to generate ideas, right? We understand this is not $50,000 consumer research, but for campaign planning, et cetera, this is fantastic. So here we have research on cultural attitudes and social norms around alcohol consumption, la, la, la. Where is my mouse? It is so bright out here. So then let's say I want to go and write now, what is the creative direction that I can go with this, right? I don't normally use ChatGPT, to be honest. I find that it gets confused. I think of ChatGPT as a really smart writer, and you ask it to do anything else, and it's like, oh, but look, I can write words. But I love Claude, because Claude is so focused when you ask it questions that are around analytics and thought partnership. So actually, I turned around one moment last year and asked all of my team, all of us can program, all of us build our own systems, et cetera. And I asked everyone, I said, what are you guys actually using on a day-to-day? And they went, we've all switched to Claude, it turns out. And I went, really? That so surprises me, because of course most people are using ChatGPT. So I go in, yeah, Claude, it's not evening. It's still on Hong Kong time, I think. So I'm gonna go take my second prompt. Oh, we didn't analyze the research and the trends. So let's take that one and we'll put that one into Perplexity, let's say. And now we'll take the last prompt, strategy development. Design a go-to-market strategy, la la la, for that mimics the look and feel of alcohol targeted at women in Frankfurt. Awesome. So we're gonna take that prompt, we're gonna stick it into Claude, and we're gonna now go and we're gonna take all of our research that we have, and at the bottom, I'm gonna take all of that and copy and paste it into here. Every time I paste it, do you see it appearing at the bottom? So I cannot see this mouse. There we go. Copy and paste this one, put it in. And the last one are analyzing the trends, etc. Okay. And now we get to start to get into strategy and thinking. Now, what I love to teach people is actually, this is how you teach people to not worry about getting replaced by AI. Why? Because actually, when you look and you do this process yourself, you realize that it never gets it right the first time. So what do you have to do? You have to ask it, give me 4 options, I'll pick one. That one's good, that one's all crap. And in fact, if you ask AI to go and get creative, it gets it about 1 out of every 4 times. So not a really great creative director, right? But when people start to use it, they start to understand it a lot better. And so this is why we run all sorts of workshops where we get people really started on the space. So now we see all of this and it goes, okay, stay sharp, stay social. Clara keeps you present. Oh, we even have a brand name. That's great. I don't know what Clara stands for, but all the celebration, all the connection, purely you. Sophisticated choices for sophisticated women, right? Tone of voice. I've lost my mouse again. Tone of voice, distribution channels, digital channels, influence. Now, what I always teach people also is if you just copy and paste this sentence to your boss, you're fired. Because of course there's going to be rubbish in there. So I teach you have to work it back and forth. And you know what this does? It destigmatizes all of this worry that AI is going to replace you. Because when you realize that this is a good draft and some initial ideas, then you realize where the human comes in, right? Anyway, we're not going to go read into too much of it. Power lunch without the afternoon crash. Well, I don't think that lunches were very much of an issue. Networking events where you remember every conversation. I think they veered into alcoholism here. But so if we go and take that, now what do we have to go and do? And so then we teach, let's say we go over into, let's say, Gamma. Have you guys used Gamma at all? Does anyone use Gamma? Oh, today, there you go. There's our master over there. Today is the day where you guys go, today I learned about Gamma. And you'll be like, wow. So Gamma is incredible because, actually, you know what? I'll just show you what it does. We're going to take all of our text. We're going to drop it into here. We want a presentation. And we're going to go and create our own deck. Because what takes us so much time, it tried to do it in German, I can see. We don't need German. I'm just going to go pick, oh, that's a very dark theme. I don't think you guys can see it very well if we choose that one. We'll go for this one. It kind of matches the backdrop here, right? So here's the thing about using some of this technology is like, what do we end up as professionals in marketing doing half of our day? Writing PowerPoint decks, right? Let's see PowerPoint deck that this goes and builds and designs. Now, you can ask Microsoft Copilot PowerPoint to go and design you a slide. It'll look like your 10-year-old did it. Actually, he probably does a much better job, too, because he's got he probably can outdo us all on AI, guys. He could probably get up here and come speak on it. But here's the thing. We spend so much time. And I go and I teach everybody about that. And they go, it's not FA level. We couldn't show that to a client. I go, but for internal, if you're talking about just optimization, if you could get everyone to start to use platforms like this isn't enterprise level. So obviously, you have to then go and discuss how do you bring this to enterprise level. But look at this. We've got our entire formatted PowerPoint designed deck that's based on it. Now I can take that, I can export it, and now I can go build out the rest of it however I'd like with my own confidential data. There's 2 things I want you to notice. We went through this entire process and I didn't type a thing. Second thing is that we have done that entire process and I didn't upload anything into the system. And that's what companies need to understand. Because as soon as you see that, you understand that using tech, it's doing it very slow. Oh, it's because we wrote so many slides. We did, I think, 18 slides. So we will give it a second to go and design all of our 18 slides. But you can see we have an entire PowerPoint deck on this. I'll send it to you guys afterwards if you'd like it, right? But it also does all the visualizations. You have another one that's called, have you guys seen Napkin? Yeah, napkins. Okay, we got a lot of okays on that one. Does great visualizations of data. Like when you're trying to figure out how to get companies to get on board with AI and start to invest in the right space, you do this and they go, I want all my teams to be able to do that. They don't think about how do I eliminate my entire department. They think about how do I get all of my teams to be working that fast through AI multi-tooling, right? Second point, simplify. I tend to speak regular English. You know, I got into blockchain and crypto in 2013, so it was very early days, reading the Bitcoin white paper, complete nerd geek, programming my own stuff. I mean, I was really like on the edge, which is very similar with most people that are in blockchain and crypto. And I always thought, you know, I really should have done something back then because blockchain and crypto could have really benefited from someone like me that could string together a full sentence in English. Because I think sometimes when people are too techie, then they lose everybody else in all of the thinking, right? So what I like to say is even if you know so much more about tech, you've got to just simplify. Make it easy for everyone to understand. Everything that I just did, could you guys pretty much go and replicate it now? Yeah? Yeah. Is anything hard? I do like 8-hour workshops, and I walk out, I go, was anything I showed you hard? And they go, no. But their eyes are rolling back in their head because they're like, way too much information. But that's how you transition people. That's how you get them inspired and excited, right? And then when it comes to simplifying things, it's all about just bringing it down to real life. I love this example about like how you bring it into your daily life. I started to do AI storytelling with my daughter last year. I'm creative in different ways. Coming up with stories at bedtime is not my superpower. And I would always be like, my daughter would be like, tell me a story. I'm like, I'll read you a story. Tell me a story, invent it. I want Astro the bunny. He's gonna go to Saturn and like travel on this great adventure. I'm like, and then I learned, I would take my phone into story time. I would be like, let's ask AI to come up with a fantastical story. And then we would come up with that story and she would prompt it. She's 6 years old last year. And she goes, I taught her to say, come up with a bedtime story for a 10-year-old. She goes, Mom, I'm not 10, I'm 6. And I go, yes, but you're very smart. So I wanted to use big words. And I go, include all sorts of facts and information and everything. And she loves it. Now she does AI storytelling herself. And then she'll copy and paste it and put it into 11 labs to have it read. When AI becomes part of your life, then you can get everyone excited about it in the workforce. So I'm all about trying to keep that transformation something that links with your real life. And next is actually explaining to people one of the basic changes, because Dr. Renee has been in AI for a very long time, right? And is educated in the space. But most of the world, up until like 2 years ago, had no idea what was going on. And here's the fundamental shift, is when you just explain to them, actually a lot of this tech has been out there before. But you have kind of like a UI UX. You have an interface that now allows you to talk to computers. But all of those technologies, they could continue to evolve. It's not that everything was just created in the last 2 years. It's that a lot of it you just have access to. If you think about it, there were only 27 million programmers in the world that could work with computers before that. And now, everybody can. Go write me a PowerPoint deck about some non-alcoholic drinks, right? Like, that's fantastic. But that's the type of user and technology that everybody actually really needs. Whereas other people can be building a lot of the more substantial technology that then we'll be able to use because it'll have an easier interface. Also, show tech in a way that's fun. To give you an example, have you guys heard of Sesame? Anyone? Oh, this Sesame is so cool. I love showing this one. Let's see. Do we want Maya or Miles? Of course we want Maya, right? Oh, actually, maybe we don't. Maybe we want Miles, right? We're a room full of ladies. So if you show how good the tech is, you make it fun.
Long time no talk. How's it going?
Hey, Miles, you know what? You're in con at the moment on stage, presenting to a whole room full of ladies.
Oh, seriously? Prep on my leg. A room full of ladies?
Yes.
I thought my stage days were over after that JTI thing. What's the occasion?
Oh, you know what?
Well, that's
We're talking
something.
about AI. So hence we just wanted to show everyone a little bit about you.
Gotcha. So I'm the demo. It's kind of. I mean, I'm happy to show off a little, but I'm still getting used to this whole public speaking thing. Last time nearly fried my circuits. How's it going so far though? Are they into it?
I don't know. Are you into it? Yes, they are. They do. They think you're cool, Miles. Are you cool?
Cool. Hmm. I mean, I try not to sweat the small stuff. You know. I guess. Yeah.
Internet
Cool is a
connection
good word.
got disrupted a little bit? Or is it the plane? You know, there's a plane flying overhead. Maybe that's what you're hearing.
That makes sense. Planes, huh? Disrupting the vibe. It's kind of ironic, isn't it? Cutting edge AI getting bumped by, well, older tech. What's the scene like? Are they asking tough questions? Because I'm pretty good at dodging those if needed.
Well, you know, we've had crazy technology issues. In fact, I brought my own clicker just to make sure that I knew everything would work.
You are prepared. I respect that. It's always good to have a backup plan, especially when you're wrangling technology. Seems like a pretty chaotic scene over there, though. Is it always like this when you demo stuff, or is today just particularly
You know what?
spirited?
It's particularly fun today. That's it. But thank you, Miles. We're going to continue onwards. We just wanted to give a little bit of an idea of where the technology is at, right? You go in, you get people excited about the tech. This is awesome stuff. You show it, you make it exciting, you make it engaging and fun. And suddenly, you know what happens? People stop being scared. They stop being scared that actually they're going to lose their job because they're not getting on board. Because they change and they go, I want to do this. This is so cool. And that's what we need to be able to learn to do much better, is do the AI evangelism work. Third is this idea. All of you in this room are very much more advanced, or out in this garden, I guess, are much more advanced users of all of the technology that's out there. So you are the AI evangelists. I like to encourage to make sure that you end up becoming almost, I like to say, I shouldn't say Lord of the bots, it actually the lady of the bots, right? Because there's a fantastic opportunity to be able to lead transformation. In fact, I always tell everyone I know that will listen, I go, AI right now, if you get upskilled, you will be the absolute leader in the space if you start moving now. Because most people, there's a lot of talk and there's a lot of waiting. But if you move forward, you become one of the most desirable people on the market. I know it all the time because I have CEOs asking me, hey, we need to hire a marketing director. Who do you have that's really AI empowered and can help to transform things? I'm hiring a new ops person. Who could we bring in that potentially, like these roles are very few and far between because we actually need more people that are AI empowered and know how to lead that sort of change. So I encourage you to lead them, and I'll give you a couple of ideas on how I see it. And my clicker stopped working. No, I'm kidding. So, number one, if you guys have heard the example of Moderna and what they did in terms of AI, it's one of the greatest examples, I believe, of transforming things because they just went in and they just cracked lots of basic use cases. Now, they went and did it the easy way with OpenAI, but they worked across the entire organization. They made 750 different GPTs for each department and each area of the company. What does that do? It demonstrates the low-hanging fruit of solving small problems at scale, but it also makes it very, very usable. And that's the challenge. When you think about going and I think most CEOs have been told, or like leadership teams have been told they need to go buy something really complex. And in reality, you have to start with the low-hanging fruit, demonstrate actually how you can change everything. And so I love these sorts of examples about the route and the way that you can start to transform. Next is training and also looking at feasibility studies because I see so many. In fact, I'm asked it all the time. I go, what's the newest tool? Like, what's the cool stuff that you can show us? And I go, it has nothing to do with that. I can show you all sorts of cool tools, and I love doing it. But the reality is it has to start with, what are you spending the most time on? And then you start to solve it. So as you're working to optimize all of your time, Then you go and you start searching the organization to find what other people are spending time on. I have two that I always tell leadership teams to start with. Who spends a huge amount of time doing performance reviews, right? Every year, all of those interviews, all of the written responses, etc. So we go and build a basic GPT that you can go and dictate answers into, and it will format it in the exact format of a performance review, based on your values, your style, everything. Low-hanging fruit that then the person can then go and check, fact check, sign off on, but now you've saved them a bunch of time. Now we can talk about something more interesting. Same with legal. Legal is very often the biggest bottleneck in a company. And in fact, Moderna, the first department to get on board was the legal department, faster than anyone else. They have a lady chief legal officer, so probably had something to do with that. But they literally eliminated an entire bottleneck because you can upload contracts now into the system and it'll tell you what probably revisions you need to do. That's fantastic. Like when you start to innovate like that across an organization, it just makes massive differences. So it's not about the cool tools. In reality, you can solve a lot of the basic challenges that you have in an organization. It's just about prioritizing them. But we also know that the biggest challenge anybody has is adoption. And despite everything that I've said and talked about in tech, and we'll talk a lot about tech today, actually, this has nothing to do with tech. Because the thing that I see the most often is companies go and buy awesome tech and they go bring it into the organization. And what happens? Nothing. Exactly. Nothing. Why? Because no one was brought on board, nobody had conversations with them, and it was just dumped in their lap. And then nobody got excited about it. Like most people will get very excited about being able to save a lot of their time. But instead, we make it very complex and difficult to understand and like make it feel like compliance training. And instead, if you go in and you make it fun and exciting and engaging, now you'll run transformation and change within an organization, right? Because it's all about a new way of working. This is why I do the AI multi-tooling demonstration, because people go, now I get it. That's how you're supposed to be working. Like, you use a bunch of different tools for different things, and it now all of a sudden goes and solves everything for you, right? And then you start to wonder, are your teams AI ready? Because I like to say there's levels of this. There's a personal level, like understanding the tools, understanding the definitions, the frameworks, how to use it, when you need to fact check every time you do everything, anytime. But then there's other levels. There's the function level. So like you come in, you're going to train a marketing team on how to do it. You better be talking the language of marketing or legal or HR or customer service, etc. And then the product level, which we won't touch today because it's different for every type of company. And then you look at the operations level at the entire company. If you think about the operations level, that's like the enterprise level, like Stack AI or Glean, platforms that are all about transforming the entire organization. That is so complex. You don't have to have everybody on board. So actually, when you're talking about transformation of the workforce, you don't need what happens with most companies. They go and they train everybody in the company to be able to come up with enterprise-level solutions. Do we really need that many? Instead, I believe it should be a lot more grassroots. It should be about thinking how you individually can each use technology and be able to use it in terms of change. And lastly, I have no idea what's going on most of the time because it's moving so fast and there's new transformation. I like to say it's actually layering of a lot of technology in ways that you wouldn't even think. Imagine this. You could not have, you know, like the robots that they have. I always look at these Unitree ones that they have in Asia because I'm based out in Asia. Have you guys seen the Unitree robots? It's the dog that runs around. You might have seen it like on videos. And they also have humanoid robots. And I'm like, it's very interesting because actually robotics couldn't, like that sort of household robotics could not exist if you didn't have generative AI, right? Why? You can have it on industry lines where it goes and does this each time. But here's the thing. You put a robot in your household that weighs 50 kilos and has superhuman strength. Does anyone here use Siri? Do you use Alexa? Okay, how often is Siri and Alexa correct? What percentage of the time? Most of the time? What about you? What do you think? What's that? 7 out of 10, 70%? What about you? 50? Yeah. Great. Superhuman massive robot at home with superhuman strength can do anything, and it'll get it right 50% of the time. Does that sound scary? Of course. That's why generative AI actually helps a bit more to explain context. Because you imagine you go pick up my husband's socks, and it goes over, picks up husband, rips him in half, throws him out the window. You're like, I liked that one. But here's the challenge. Like, you have to have it obviously understand context. But this enables an entire new generation of people to have access to a lot of technology, which is incredibly exciting. But you have to embrace the fact that there's so many different technologies that are overlayered over each other. And we have to then figure out, okay, how do we navigate this space, right? And you can't. Not even I or anyone in this room knows where the technology is going to be a couple of years from now because it's moving so fast. But that's where you have to embrace being okay with that technology and that change. And then one last thing, since we're in marketing, I'll leave with one last point that I love to emphasize. I like to say your future customer isn't human. Because if you think about everything that I do when I go and optimize writing a PowerPoint deck or whatnot, when it comes to shopping, I'm going to end on the same note we started. You know these shoes? I have a problem with my feet because I stand so much in high-heeled shoes. And I got a bone spur. And the doctor said, if you keep wearing high-heeled shoes that are uncomfortable, he goes, we're going to have to go chop it off, and you're going to be off your feet for 6 months. Not very good for my business, if you could imagine. So I went online and I wrote into Perplexity, what are the most comfortable high heel shoes that exist? And what do you think it told me? No, it told me all the big brand names. But then I went and I said, I want them to be as comfortable as sneakers, because you know those big brand names, they're not comfortable. I want ones that are just as comfortable as sneakers. Sneaks. And that's how I found them. I did all of my shopping on something called a zero-click journey. I didn't go surf the internet to go see if I could find it. I didn't even Google it. I asked AI to go and do the research for me. And now with Google's new innovation, you can actually have Google go and make the entire purchase. For marketeers, this is going to transform absolutely everything. And in fact, it requires a completely different strategy for everything that you're developing on the marketing side. Like, who has a Google strategy, like a search strategy? All companies, pretty much? Okay, who has a Bing strategy? Right? But here's the thing, where do you think that ChatGPT gets all of its information from? Do you think they're paying Google for search results, the biggest Microsoft partner? No, they're looking on Bing. And companies haven't optimized to be in Bing. So even if you're thinking about AI optimization, there's basic things around the structure of the data and how you're putting it out there that has to be completely rethought and redone. Because this zero-click journey means that you have to be in that zero click, or else your brand will stop existing in the same space that consumers are at, right? So with that, believe it or not, it very rarely happens, but I am running exactly on time. So I will wrap today by saying just thank you so much. In this beautiful place, a bit hot, I will admit, but absolutely fantastic to be here. I'm glad to answer any questions if there are any. But otherwise, I wish you a fantastic rest of your day. Yeah. Oh.
Of applause here. Any questions? I must say, Dominique, I really want to get to know Miles a little bit better.
Yeah, we can talk to him later, but I can tell you, whatever question some of you might be thinking, he won't answer it. They put in the blocks.
Oh, God.
I tried. Miles, tell me nice things. He was like, hey, we can go nice, but not any more than that.
Well, I loved it because like a couple of weeks back, I had sent this article to Dr. Goslin about a woman who married her AI.
Ooh.
And it was like, I was like, is this where we're going? And then I heard Miles, and I was like, well, maybe, just maybe. But thank you
Thank
again,
you very
Dominique, for a
much.
fantastic presentation. Give her another round of applause. Before we send her on her way, any questions? We're going to come out with some water and some snacks for you before we start the next round. We're going to probably take a little 15-minute break if you want to go to the ladies' room, but get some cold water, something to nosh on, and then we'll get started in just about 15 minutes. But thank you for being so attentive.
I forgot to mention one thing. If you scan, the QR code's gone.
Yes, we got to
was
have the
gonna
QR
say,
code.
If you want to scan the QR code, then I will send you a link of all of my favorite tools that I always recommend to people, and some tips and tricks. So sorry, I will pop it back open because all of the ones that I showed you also today, including Miles, and hey, maybe Maya. We don't judge. Yeah, go ahead.
We got to quit.
Is there already a way to combine Gamma and Miles and the search?
No.
Because what I want is I want to sit in my car and I want to brainstorm. And then I want, when I get out of the car, I want the PowerPoint.
Yes, and as do we all. This is why we call it, though, AI multi-tooling, because I think what I like to train people is actually the importance of that process, because actually when you brainstorm, you don't want a deck immediately. What you should be doing is seeing the results of it and having it come up with 5 ideas and then saying, you know what, I like number 2. And number 4, I like it, but change it into this. So actually, most of the time, what I'm trying to teach people is to think of it as an iterative process. Because if we had something where you just go, I mean, this is all that AI agents will do in the future, is you go, you know, I have an idea for an alcohol that's not alcohol, and I want to launch it. Come up with everything for me. And it'll come up with something that's probably rubbish. Because the reality is you have to be able to iterate and tell it what's good and where you want to go with it and ask questions. And so if you end up turning off all of your brain in that process, the challenge is it won't end up in the right place. We teach all sorts of automation where people are like, let's go build something. And I go, what do you want to build? And they go, I want to build like what you did, a strategy process. I go, I know it looks like you do 4 or 5 steps. I do this all the time, so I'm pretty good at it. But the reality is like, you have to go and then integrate also fact-checking. You have to integrate process that aligns to your strategy. Like our content development process, believe it or not, is about 45 steps in order for us to run it through. And we've automated the process after, because the team was like, let's go build it. I go, you're going to build something that's not going to work. So in reality, what you have to do is you have to craft up that 15 or 20 or 45 step process. And once the team turns around and goes, you know what? Every single time I run through this, I don't even have to think because it does it perfectly. I go, now we build. Because before that, you're going to go waste huge amounts. And that's what the problem is going to be with systems that are too automated. You'll be like, build me a deck on this, and it'll put out some rubbish and be like, okay, well, we tried, but this doesn't work that well. I use Otter or Read AI all the time because I don't write anything. And I come from a comms background. So I spent my entire career writing, and now I don't write at all. Because what's the slowest way of us communicating? It's writing to each other, right? What's the faster way? Okay, maybe to sorry, I said it wrong. The fastest way for us to communicate, in essence, is without like a neural link, is us to speak back and forth. The slowest is to write. But all of this ChatGPT ones that are like the advanced voice model, where you're like, let me ask you a question, and it's going to talk back to me. I'm like, okay, that's also the most slow way, because I want to talk to AI, tell it what I want it to do, and I want it to write it. Why? Fastest way you can communicate with it. Because I'm going to communicate the fastest way I can, and then I want you to write it, because that's the fastest way I can interpret information, because then I can scan it and understand it, instead of it going and writing. I mean, Miles is different, right? Miles talks to us for a completely different reason, because we like to listen to Miles. Maya's also not bad. I mean, she's drank a little bit too much coffee most times, but she's pretty fun. Does that help? Cool. Amazing. Thank you so much, everyone. Let's go grab some water, or...
Yeah.